Hi there. Can everybody hear us and see us okay? We're going to get started in about a minute or two here. I see we have about 6 people. Hello. Nice to have you. Nice to see you. Or not see you because we can't see you. All right, so I'm just going to jump right in here. I'm Hillary Small, the founder of the MedSpa Society. And today I'm really excited because this is the first in our summer learning series. And we're kicking it off with MedLead Convert. We're going to show you how to unlock hidden revenue already sitting in your database. So this is going to be a really valuable informational session. We're going to spend a lot of the time going through the process and how you can integrate it into your practice. So like I said, I'm Hillary Small. I'm the founder of the MedSpa Society, and I'm joined by Josh and Cody of MedLead Convert. Josh and Cody, I met them probably about 5 or 6 months ago now through a mutual client, and the process of database reactivation was, to me, I was like, oh my gosh, why haven't I done this before? And why aren't more people doing this? Because it's such a great way to drive revenue and build retention for your business. So again, the MedSpa Society, our mission is to help med spa and wellness practices build a strong foundation, starting with a clear, compelling brand. That is the core of what we do. And really what we focus on is helping med spa and wellness businesses, build, like I said, a really strong brand. And then from there, we work with our clients, whether or not you have built your brand with us or not. We work with our clients to help drive their business to profitability in the quickest way possible, leveraging organic platforms first. Things like, once you get to the point of having a database reactivation, and then we strategically integrate paid options, paid advertising. And I meant to do this before, but if you would like to say hi, if you have a practice, drop the name of your practice in the chat, where you are. Would love to see who is here with us. And I'm going to let the guys, Josh and Cody, introduce MedLead and just tell you a little bit about themselves.
Hey, good morning or afternoon, everyone. Hillary, MedSpa Society, thank you guys so much for putting this together. Hillary, you've done a great job. I'm excited for all the training we're going to go over with everybody today. Like Hillary said, my name is Josh. This is my business partner, Cody. We've been at this for quite a while. Cody and I have owned upwards of 20 plus brick and mortars and operated them together across fitness and wellness. Started off about 17 years ago. We created a fitness franchise. We scaled to 75 units together, Delta Life Fitness Franchising. I was the CEO, Cody was the CMO. And we built that, again, 75 units across the country off a lot of what we're going to be talking about today, how to build a digital database and then how to get the most out of that database. This owning a brick and mortar like this, Cody and I always say, is a resource allocation game. You have to be really smart with the limited resources, time and money that we have to make these businesses work well. And so we found some really good ways to extract a lot of business, just hidden revenue that may be already there, to give you guys some good opportunities. So Again, we created Delta Life Fitness, that franchise. After that, Cody and I own a salt therapy spa here in Houston in the Woodlands. So we really created this business for ourselves to handle. We do the tedious lead nurture follow-up from leads that are coming in for medical owners. And then we also help them reactivate databases, which we're really excited to share with you guys today, because especially coming up over the summer, if lead generation slowing down for you, if you're having a hard time getting people to walk through the door, simply doing an SMS reactivation or reactivating your database with some good data is a really helpful tool. So excited to spend today with you. But yeah, that's a little bit of our background. Cody?
Sorry, I had myself on mute there. Cody Bishop. So I worked with Josh and I met years back when I was running some fitness facilities there in California that I owned, and then eventually came on board with Delta Life Fitness and helped scale that. But yeah, we've had a passion for doing this for a very, very long time. Josh has always, been, developing large businesses I've been working on, just trying to figure out how to make them, make the little pieces work together. So particularly, like, we're excited to share with you some of the strategies that we learned over the years. Because obviously you guys spend a lot of time and resources developing these large databases. And sometimes we get this impression that you get those leads in, if they don't convert that month, they're just dead. They're dead leads. And we send some emails out. We don't really see a good return on those emails. But we're happy to report that a lot of those leads that you got in that month one, they just needed more time. They just need more time, more nurture, and then just the right offer. And we're happy to share some of those tools and strategies that we've used to help make that happen.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So what we're going to go over today is how to re-engage your database using smart automation, the messaging that drives high converting replies and ultimately drives those leads into your practice, real world case studies showing how the process and obviously the speed to lead, timely responses, and strategic offers ultimately lead to bookings, long-term retention, and referrals. So what surprises me still to this day is how many people are not leveraging SMS for their marketing, regardless of whether or not, you're doing a reactivation. Just SMS in general as a marketing tool is, 45% more likely to get a response versus email at 6%. So if you do nothing else, outside of joining us today and learning about how this works, at least start communicating with your database via SMS. So I'm going to jump in here and give just a little bit about how database reactivation works. If you wanted to do it yourself, you certainly could. And then Cody and Josh are going to talk about what makes their process valuable and different from, if you were to just do it yourself. So assuming you have a CRM with a database, what you're going to do, and this is just, a very simplified process, is you're going to audit and segment your database. Hopefully you're doing it now and you at least have a distinction between, who has come in for a service and who has not, at the very least. You're going to want to craft a compelling offer. Write a message reactivation sequence. So you want to make sure that we're going to share an example of, what this could look like, but you want to prepare this ahead of time and then set it up in your CRM as a workflow, as an automation. Then monitor, follow up, and then ultimately book, optimize, and repeat. So this is a very, condensed overview of if, again, you wanted to try and do something like this yourself, what it would take. And this doesn't include the things that MedLead and Josh and Cody's team bring to the table. So if you're running ads, let's say you're running Meta ads or, Google ads, but Meta ads specifically take a lot more time to convert. So the average response takes 8+ touches with a combination of calls, texts, emails, DMs. But most businesses stop after 2 to 3 attempts, even less, in most of the cases that I encounter. It's, that people expect, if I follow up one time, you don't book, that's it. No, that's not the case. And with database reactivation and just lead nurturing the way that it should be done, it needs to be done consistently and frequently. So I'm going to turn this over now to Josh and Cody so they can talk about their process and show you some real world examples of how it works.
Thanks, Hillary. Yeah, so let's just, like Hillary was saying, let's start with just talking about the change from email to SMS and why this is so effective right now. Like she was saying, SMS is obviously much higher response rate. It is the way to do, for years we did email reactivations. It is very clearly the winner now is to do SMS. However, since we have switched over to SMS, it cannot be the same strategy that we all used to use in email, right? So what I mean by that is we don't want to come up with a really long cold email and try to send them and give them those little bits of information that they respond to. It's a different strategy. What we want to do, if all of you right now on this call, and it's because of you have to meet consumers where their attention is. If you're on this call right now, and you get what should be a cold email sent to your text message. It's long, it's a scroller. You're going to glance down at it. It's going to take too many calories to understand what they're asking, and you're going to come right back here. That's what most people do. That's really the biggest mistake as most people start trying to do an SMS, a text message reactivation campaign compared to an email reactivation campaign. They do it exactly how we used to do email. Really long message, send it out to everybody. This is a mistake. The really the best way to do SMS, if you guys are friends of or anybody follows Seth Godin, he's one of my favorite marketers. It's all about just knowing jobs to be done, right? So when we send the first message for a reactivation to our database, what is the job to be done with that first message? It's really not to tell them how great the offer is, everything about the business. It would take too much if we put all that in there. Really, we're just trying to get a response. Similarly, Seth Godin says, when most businesses buy a billboard, they want to fill it up. They don't want to leave any empty space on the billboard. They want to put everything about how great the business is, how great the offer is. They don't want to leave anything off. But really, the best billboard in the world would just say, free coffee next exit, right? Because if they don't take the exit, if they don't take the next step to do business with you, you have no chance of doing business with them. Well, how that relates to an SMS reactivation campaign is if they don't just give us, if they opt out, or if they don't engage with us at all, no matter how great the message was or how compelling the offer was, I'm going to show you some live examples of that where I could have tightened up the offer, made it, instead of giving them one free trial, giving them a free month, and it still would not have worked if we didn't just bite-size it to get the response. So something to think about. We can go back to that other one just for a second, Hillary. So just a couple of things to think about. Like she was saying, you want to grow your database and then make offers to the database. That's what this whole thing is with database reactivations, right? And you want to get used to it. Because it's really hard. If we try to hit our sales goals just on the new leads that are coming in that month, every month, it's really hard to do. Every month, the more we pay for leads, every month, this should get easier and easier. We try as hard as we can to get those new leads to come in that same month, but all the ones that don't respond or don't come in, they're not a no, they're just a not right now. That's why it's incredibly important to always have a database reactivation strategy that continues to build as those new, because every month, if you're working both new leads plus an ever-growing database, it gets easier and easier to hit your goals. That's inside, that just helps you, right? Especially where it can help you the most is in a slow summer or a slow winter. Summertime is the perfect time to do a database reactivation. So that's how it can help you right now. It can also, though, help you with just the resale value of your business. We have a lot of clients that now have 20 to 30,000 people in their database. Using the techniques we're going to show you today, they're able to still grow that database faster than they can get through it. They no longer have to spend money on upfront marketing. The valuation of their business goes through the roof, right? So a couple of things, like Hillary was saying, you really can run these yourself. Cody will tell you, this is all our team does is, when we launch these database reactivations, we're on standby to watch the messaging. If you're going to do it yourself, that's probably going to be the biggest challenge you have, is just being able to handle, because it's when we talk speed to lead, and you guys should know this, in the med spa area, speed to lead is only going to get more important, not less so. And that's because competition is expanding, right? We were about 10,000 med spas countrywide last year. We're about 12,000 now, and it's only going, it's going up, right? So speed to lead is going to become more and more important. So the speed to lead is important, but we got to get that first message out and get the response. You guys could do that yourself. And if you don't have the staff to help handle all the responses, because speed to lead is important, but it's every time they come back with a question or inquiry, we got to be there within Cody and I used to think it was 5 minutes. It's more like 2 minutes. We get to see that data. We set, by the way, we set thousands of appointments like this every single month. So we really have the data here. A couple of other things that are important to know before we kind of go into this. And that's what I was going to tell you. You could do it yourself if you set up a booking link. Just be careful. Cody and I continue to test this all the time. Booking links can almost give you a false sense of it working, because you can get bookings with the booking links. If you send out a booking link, people will actually book. What's difficult when sending out a booking link, though, is actually getting the show rate. So booking links, if you don't have the staff to be there to manage those conversations, you can try to use a booking link. But that's just anybody here who's used booking links, you probably know it's easy to get the appointment booked, hard to get them to actually show up. They don't feel like they have any skin in the game there. We're going to go over some examples of that too. One more important statistic to look at. So when Hillary was saying that these people aren't a no, they're just a not right now, they will still come in. It's really important you understand that. We do this for a lot of the major franchises in this space. We work for all of the iCryos. Something that's interesting, at the end of the year last year, we sent some information back to the CEO of iCryo, just showing them the data from all of their centers. We sent about almost 8,000 people through the door of iCryo last year. But when me and Cody looked at the data, what was interesting, half of those, so about half, 49% of those 8,000 appointments we sent through the door took over 100 days of nurture, which means your front end, your aggressive 10-day nurture when a lead first comes in, if you have the best system in the world, that's only going to capture about 40% of those leads. And that's if you have a really good system, right? All those other ones that are coming in every month, the other 60%, the majority of your leads that are coming in every month, they're not a no, they're just a not right now, which is why we have to implement a database reactivation strategy. Whenever we do this with you guys, we onboard, we can come up with, when can you handle all these appointments? We make sure we've got your calendar set up for that. Then we go ahead and train our team on how to answer all the questions, know all the pricing and packaging you have, all the different modalities. Here's where most people mess up whenever they do a database reactivation. Again, they take what should have been a cold email, a scroller, and they just send it out. Say you have 5,000 people in your database, right? Where most people would try and fail with an SMS database reactivation. They'd come up with a really long message, telling them how we're family owned and operated. We've been in the community for 20 years. We can do a really good job for them. We've got this awesome offer, but it's too much information. And we just hit send to all 5,000. If you guys have tried these database reactivations before, you probably know what happens when you do that. When you just come up with a message that's too long and you hit send and send it out to everybody, opt-out rates go through the roof. We really don't get the responses we were looking for. Nobody comes in for new business, and it just feels like we're wasting our time and effort and energy. Man, those database reactivations just don't work for me. What Cody and I learned a long time ago in marketing and in consumer influence, trying to get people to take the next step and walk through your door, it's just about making little micro adjustments. We also learned, supporting all the med spas across the country we have now, but also with the franchise we grew, we realized there is no 50-state marketing plan. What, for a database reactivation that works really well in Tampa, Florida, might not work the same in Hoboken, New Jersey, right? So what you want to do is you want to come up with your best guess when you create an offer. We want to think of our best guess. When we look at the segmented list that we're going to send, and you don't really just hit send to the entire list, like Hillary was saying earlier. We want to look at the list segmentation. Do we have it segmented by people who are pass holders or members or regular visitors versus just prospects? People who've been to the spa or have never been to the spa. People who haven't been to the spa in the last 6 months. All different. The more segmented we can get the list, the better, more targeted campaigns we can run to those sections of that list. Say we've got a normal med spa and we could offer a day pass for around $25. They can come in, try some compression or cryo or something like that, right? So we want to, for $25, we can get people to come in, try one modality. If that's the offer we want to go with, we come up with the phrasing we think will work. And then and our first guess is a pretty good one, but we never just hit send to the entire list. So say we're working with somebody that got a 5,000 person list. We're going to take our best guess working with that client on what the offer should be. We'll show you some examples in just a second. But then we only send it, depending on how big the list is, to a very small section of that list, maybe 50 or 100 people at a time. And we'll usually do it on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays when response rates are the best. We're sending out this little micro dose of the message until we can guarantee or beat 3 key performance indicators. We're trying to keep the opt-out rate below 2.5%. We're trying to keep the response rate above 10% and the booking rate above 5%. So if we can come up with a very short little message, and again, we're just trying to get them engaged to start, and they're not going to give you much in the beginning, just a yes usually. But we're trying to find that messaging that will at least keep the opt-outs below 2.5%, response rate above 10%, and booking rate above 5%. That's when you want to load up more like 100 to 200 people a day, depending on how big your list is, and you can send it Monday through Friday. Cody knows the best times. Cody, if they're sending out like a big group message, when's the best times optimally? Is it Monday through Friday, and what time to actually send it for best responses? Oh, I think you might be
getting the wrong buttons here. It varies a bit, right? Like in general, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays are the best times to send out campaigns. Mondays and Fridays typically fall more deaf ears. Saturdays, typically, it just depends on if you have staff to manage it. If you have staff to manage it, Saturday can be actually a really, really effective day. But if you're looking through weekdays, it's Tuesday through Thursday. Optimal time-wise, right around 10 or 10:30. That tends to be the best, most responsive times. But again, it can vary, and that's one of the things you have to test. Sometimes we see it actually much more effective at 8 a.m. Whereas other ones we see typically at 11:30, like ending of lunch break or just before lunch break tends to work real well, and sometimes later. But generally, I'd say you're safe to start Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 10 to 10:30. I think those are some really, really good times for starting a campaign like that.
Awesome. Thanks, Cody. So as you can see, there's a lot of different variables. And so anybody who tells you they know your product market message fit is probably not tested it. It takes testing, right? So there's a lot of different variables. And the last thing you want to do is not have considered all of those variables. And we just hit send on a message that goes to the entire database. That is the way we used to do email reactivations. Does not work in SMS. We want to break that up, actually hit the response metrics we need, then automate it. If you have to go high level or anything, you can set this up in bulk actions to where it'll send out at least the first message. You got to be ready to handle the responses when they come in from there. Okay. All right, Miss Hillary, let's look at that first example we have here. And then we're going to dive in and look at a couple of real life examples. Okay, so if we read this, and you guys might not be able to see this. Let me see if I can blow this up a little bit. Okay, so this is for an augment wellness. We kind of took out some of the identifiable information here, but this is a real conversation. We're going to look through the actual conversation in just a second. What's interesting about this one, this is a lead that came into their database. This is an augment wellness in North Carolina. This is a lead that came into their database 2 years ago and has never been into the actual facility. This top message is the one that won. This kept the opt-out rates where it needed to be, but the response rates and booking rates where it needed to be. Hey, Kelly, it's Ashley at Augment Wellness. You've been randomly selected. I'll tell you guys just a free piece of advice that you've been randomly selected works really well for some reason. I don't know why. We get a lot of people ask later on after they've set their appointment, hey, how was I selected for this? We'll tell them, hey, we just selected a group of people to receive this offer. You were one of the lucky people, and they're always super grateful. Thank you. But that does seem to work really well to get their attention. So you've been randomly selected to receive a trial voucher for just $25. It includes 4 core services, compression, infrared, cold plunge, and contrast. Would you like one? And again, you can see what's interesting about this message. When I show you the real conversation here in just a second, we sent her this 1 month, no response. We sent it exactly 1 month later, and she actually responded. Cody knows this, but my 21-year-old son's a franchise consultant. He uses the same practice to reactivate old franchise leads, and he'll double tap them. If he sends it out one time and gets no response, he'll send the exact same message the next month. And based on the stats Hillary was showing you guys, it takes so much more follow-up than anybody's willing to do. So if you'll increase your follow-up, you're going to do a lot more business. It's plain and simple. Okay, so we get that out. We just get the yes back. And so she says anytime between 12 and 3, we get her booked. Actually, I'm going to show Hillary. Do you mind if I show this in the real conversation here? Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. All right, let me show you guys this real fast. So this is the actual conversation with Miss Kelly. So hopefully you guys can see this. I'll kind of go slow. You can see we've sent it on February 11th, nothing. On March 27th, though, sent the exact same message and we get a yes. What's important here, this is why I was telling you, you got to have somebody ready to respond back within 2 minutes every time a question comes in. So we send out the core message, we get a yes. Done or reserved a trial for you. It starts tomorrow. Here's something important. So when you're setting appointments or trying to get somebody, this is not just an afterthought. It's just as important as the main sales training you would do at the point of sale inside the spa. The training you're doing with your staff in there. This is sales training. Being able to communicate with leads to get the appointment booked and actually have them show up is a certain type of skill set. Our lead conversion specialists is what we call them. They are very highly trained on everything that affects show rate. That's why they're always trying, and you guys probably know this, they're always trying to set the appointment for as close to today as possible. If we set this appointment for 4 weeks from now, that person is not showing up, right? You guys have probably seen that. So you'll see they'll answer the question, 2 sentences, 1 question mark, right back to the close every time. You can see anytime between 12 and 3. Here's another little tip that's important to note. You see she came back and said anytime between 12 and 3. Perfect. Before I book your reservation, may I know what your goals are? You can see she went 20 minutes. This is why it's so important to have the actual human work in the account. And if you had a booking link, after she said this first yes, we probably could have just sent her a booking link. She may have even actually signed up through the booking link, but she would not have shown for her appointment. Here she gives us anytime between 12 and 3. We ask what her goals are. If they drop off, if they don't give you a response, 20 minutes later, you have to double tap, send it again. Hey, Kelly, I just want to follow up and make sure you didn't miss my previous message. I'd love to help you get this reserved. Then she finally comes back and answers a little bit of everything. So then we get her booked, right? Here's a secret. As soon as you get them booked, especially if you have somebody that can actually watch these conversations, every time you successfully book the appointment, because we got her scheduled now, we always just ask the magical question. One more thing. Is there any friends or family that you'd like to share this with? This works a lot better than you think, guys. It actually works more than it doesn't. Just by asking that one question, is there anyone else you'd like to share this with? You can see my friend Sierra. She sends in all of Sierra's contact information. We then try to go schedule Sierra, her friend, just like we did her. Unfortunately, her friend was pregnant, so we weren't able to get her booked right now, but she'll be in the system and she's a future client that can come in. Hey, Kelly, we send the confirmation text. We do a ringless voicemail for the confirmation voicemail. And here's why the show rate is so much stronger than if we had just used the booking link. You can see Kelly here is running late, but she feels a personal connection to Ashley. So now that she's running late, she feels like she has to tell Ashley, hey, I'm on the way. I'm running a few minutes late. Be there in a second. If she had just used a booking link, she would have felt the stress of that morning. I'm not attached to anybody. She would have just not went. That's why the booking link doesn't really work. They don't build that personal connection. Okay, so that's one example. Any questions on that one before I show you guys another example real fast? Hillary, any questions I'm missing? Nope. Okay.
No questions, but I just want to mention one thing that is great. So having worked with Josh and Cody's team with my clients, they access your calendar, your booking. So you make them a user on whatever calendar you're using. So then they can go in and they can book the appointment. So they know as part of the training, how your calendar functions. And then what is even better is within their platform, you can just easily drag and drop. Like if somebody, if the deal closes, it's a great way to track if somebody comes in. So they make it through their process extremely easy. And that's why I call it like the concierge process, because essentially it could eliminate an employee need from your practice. If you leverage not only, database reactivation, they do offer just general lead conversion services, but with their process and their team, you could, like I said, possibly eliminate at least, a team member. Not that I want anybody to lose their jobs, but, we're all looking for ways to, really make things more efficient within the practice to ultimately, drive more revenue. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, I'll double down on that one just a little bit, just because that's so true. And like, what we'll see is either, and very rarely do we see people let go of staff when they bring our support in, but they're able to reallocate those staff members to doing things that, one, they're way more passionate about, which is not lead follow-up, but probably about taking care of the members' retention, and then also building the book of business. Like, this person came in, and now that staff member's job is to track the next visit, and their KPI is making sure that person shows up for the next visit. So they came in for a hydrofacial. Okay, well, I'm following back up with them in weeks 3 and 4 to get them rebooked for another hydrofacial if they didn't pre-book. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, sales tends to be the least favorite task of anybody, no matter who it is. So it's, if you do have somebody and that's their, they love it, then good for you. But in most cases, that is the least favorite task.
Right. But yeah, it's a good point. So I mean, just we have it on here, but we show people every account we support. It's got a US based account manager, a data analyst, and then we have 3. And so basically, we're replacing about 107 hours of just tedious lead follow up. I mean, it's somebody, again, it's hard to do, and your staff doesn't want to do it, and they can't really, that to be able to be there to answer for the price of what one VA costs, we handle every new lead plus run these database reactivations for you. So like I said, we built it for ourselves. It's a good, useful tool. Let me show you this one example real quick. This is a cycling example from a little while back, but still just as just showing you guys how effective a database reactivation can be. This client is, by the way, this is in Hoboken, New Jersey. So it's basically downtown New York. She owns a cycling studio. You can't throw a rock without hitting 15 other cycling studios. She's got a 30,000 person database, has over 100 first-time triers a week, and spends $0 on upfront marketing because she has followed this process correctly for a long time and built her database up and does the database reactivations very thoroughly. This lead, Alexa, was in her database, a dead lead from 4 years ago. Came and tried a class one time 4 years ago. We get her to come back, and as you'll see, she brings in 3 of her friends, which again is very common. Hey, Alexa, Julie here from Prime Cycle and Body. You've been randomly selected. Again, that language just works really well. She does ask later on how she was randomly selected. I'll show you that. Would you like one? Doesn't give us much in the beginning. Yes. We send back a nice, pretty branded image of all the times they could come in. Like Hillary was saying, if our team books the appointment for you, we don't make you come and learn another software. If you're using MindBody or Zenoti or whatever main scheduling software you're using, our lead conversion specialist will actually go put that appointment on your main scheduling platform. You don't have to come in here and look for the schedule. This is a good reason why booking links don't work, and this is for something as simple as a cycling class. You can imagine for the med spas, people are generally going to have at least 2 questions before you can get them booked. So just another good reason why booking links don't work. Class are 45 minutes long. When do you want to come by? We get her booked. Any friends or family that want to join you. Again, you can see how well that works. She goes and gets 3 of her friends and sends in all of their contact info. From there, we just kind of help with all the concierge stuff. Like if they ask, hey, are we going to have seats next to each other? We're able to help with that. Here she goes. Out of curiosity, how did I get chosen for this? Great question. We pulled a list of everyone who visited us just one time, randomly selected a group to receive the offer. You were one of the lucky people in that group. Awesome. Thanks. Okay, so that's 2 good examples there of those. Hillary, I will turn my screen off now and send it back to you.
Okay, awesome. So just a few more statistics to reiterate, the importance of having something like this in place. So only 2% of sales occur during the first contact. Persistence is key to reactivation. And again, I see we'll get back to the questions in a minute. But again, persistence and consistency is key, regardless of whether it's an activation or a lead just coming in. 60% of customers say no 4 times before saying yes. So most business owners, again, they never make it that far. They don't like sales. They don't want to feel pushy. They don't want to feel like they're selling. But having processes like this in place eliminates that completely. I'm going to turn it back over to Josh and Cody really quickly just to go over this case study, because again, I think, understanding that, just this few, contacts can result in, and again, if you have a database and it's 10 years old, is it going to be as effective? No. The recency and relevancy of the database definitely matters, but, and I'll let them talk about, how this occurred just a little bit more.
Awesome. Cody, I'll let you take this one. I do want to answer Miss or Mr. I'm not sure if that's Miss or Mr. Vora. Vora's asking how many leads did we send it to the randomly selected campaign, and what was the response rate you expect as a good strategy? Yeah, so it's depending on how big your database is. If you've got several thousand, we start testing it by sending it to somewhere between 50 or 100 people at a time. The metrics we're looking for to know if it's good is opt out to below 2.5, response rate above 10%. Hopefully that answers your question.
And it varies. Yeah, I mean, it can vary, but those are like the good standardized, we see sometimes better, sometimes it really just depends on, again, your list and how segmented we can create that list. To Josh's point before, like the segmentation really matters. There was this tendency for a lot of us for a long time to just bulk send emails, bulk send text message campaigns out. And then there was a point where it worked really well. People are so inundated with emails, and now text messages just quickly behind it. People are just bulk texting everybody, and they're not surprised and have a very small response rate, especially if you're putting it back on them, like having them take the action. Okay, here's the link, you go through, you purchase it. So you versus, again, kind of more of a concierge experience, like, hey, can I answer any questions? And then answer, and then take them through a journey. Listen, I won't spend too much time on that. Josh will repeat all those just to share some of this data here. You see that this is a client of ours where they didn't have a humongous list. So what we had to do is we had to drip it over time. These could have been more compressed into a shorter time period. But this was also a very highly segmented list. So we did take a highly segmented target list for a high ticket aesthetic service to drive appointments through the door. And so with this approach, we had about 1,200 contacts. And of those, we had some pretty high response rates. We had about half of them, really close to half of them, respond in a positive way. Now, that response rate, where you see count on this right-hand column here, where it says 685 under database reactivation, that high response rate, those are people who, of those 1,200, said, I'm interested in what you have here, or, tell me more. So they leaned in and said some very short yes of some kind to kind of continue the conversation. Now, that only happened because we did, so I don't want to get that, to be the primary expectation. Again, I want to bring that back to what Josh said earlier, in that segmentation really, really matters here. We're talking about 1,200 people in this database that were very highly segmented and nurtured over the course of 90 days. And so we kind of went at them with an offer that they were very interested in. So that's why we had the high response rate. Now, of those, we still saw the same booking rate, which is 81, which ends up being a little over 6%, or like 6% or something close to that booking percentage from that. So once we got them to engage, we continued to nurture them further. So we see responded and engaged here. It's a little bit different with database reactivation. If you look at some examples earlier, you see like in some of these other lines, like Facebook as an example, typically if we get like 13 leads, we're looking for what percentage of them engage, or what percentage of them respond, and what percent of them engage, meaning, response is just any response, text or call, or even email reply, whereas engage would be like more of a meaningful conversation. And this is the way we can actually code for and actually structured and measure how effective the lead quality is. So we know that if it's a poor response rate and a poor meaningful engagement rate, then it's probably not a very high quality lead. And there's some things we need to do on the front end of the marketing side and support when you're marketing. But I only bring that up because I want to say how that's different than database reactivation. Database reactivation, those numbers don't quite mean the same thing. So count in this case is people who responded. They responded in some sort of positive way. And then responded and engaged, the columns just next to it, they're really the same thing. That is somebody who is showed a meaningful, engaged in a meaningful conversation that leads to a booking. And we see from there 81 that were booked. The total revenue generated from that was $17,000, close to $18,000 over the next 90 days with that high ticket, more aesthetics based service. So that's how database reactivation works from a measurement standpoint. Josh, anything more I should clarify on that?
Yeah, just the last thing I was going to say from a case study standpoint, what's really interesting, guys, is like this. Obviously, Cody and I have used this part of our strategy in our personal businesses for a long time. It really makes your ad dollars go so much further. One of the major franchise brands we support, we just got the first quarter report back for their entire brand. So it's about a 40-unit med spa brand for first quarter. Their number one revenue driver over that quarter at about 195,000 was database reactivation. In second place to that was their Google ads. This is across all, combined roll-up reporting for all 40 centers. Their Google ads brought in 105,000. So database reactivation, and it makes sense. It's always going to be the largest portion. If it's not your first month in business, if you've been growing a database, reactivating your database should be the largest revenue you're bringing in above and beyond paid ads. Again, 40 centers across all of Q1, database reactivation brought in 195,000 compared to just 190,000 compared to 105 from Google ads. So database reactivation beat, and then Facebook was well below that. Google was their highest paid, which makes sense again, because the intentionality of those leads, that you have to continually work on.
Well, yeah, and the beauty of the database reactivation is that if you have been running, Google ads and Meta ads, and those leads didn't convert, it's likely that through the reactivation that you're getting them to convert at some point. So regardless of if they, came in and did not, become, a patient or a client on the front end, at some point, it's more likely that they're going to when you have practices like this in place.
It's almost a guarantee, especially, you said it earlier, Hillary, especially if you're running Meta ads. Google, think about, guys, I think everybody knows, but just want to tell you this one thing real fast. A Google ad or a web form ad, a Google lead or a web form lead, it's not that a Google lead is better than a Facebook lead. It's not, it could be the same exact type of human demographically and psychographically. The difference is the level of intentionality of how bad they need your service when the lead comes into your system. A Google lead or a web form lead, they're looking for that right now. Pain relief near me, inflammation relief near me, whatever it is. They're looking for, they have a problem they're trying to solve. Those are the most expensive leads, though. Usually we need all those leads we can get, but we also need as many meta leads. But the problem with the meta lead, they're a good cost per lead for us. They help fill our database, and they might be ready this month, but they're probably not a no. They're a not right now. Again, remember how we get the meta leads. 2:00 in the morning, they're watching a video, a cat play chopsticks with chopsticks, and we're like, hey, want to come try some cryo? They may download the offer, but a lot of times when you reach out to them, they don't even remember, how'd you get my number? Why are you bothering me? Right? So those low, and it's not that they're bad leads. They were low intention. So they take an obscene amount of follow-up to get them to walk through the door.
Yep, absolutely. So we're getting to the end of the presentation. I'm going to share with you how you can work with MedLead or learn more about their process. And also, at this point, and I'm going to let Josh, go a little bit more into this. But if you have any questions, I think you might have to open up the side panel to see the chat, but please drop them into the chat and we'll answer, any questions you have. But to really finalize this from my perspective, and the reason why I wanted this to be one of our first sessions is, number one, if you're already experiencing a slow time because of the economy, if you're heading into summer and you're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I don't necessarily have money to spend, on an ad campaign, because if you're not obviously spending a certain amount, you don't know how to set them up. That can be a big investment, right? So, and Josh can certainly talk about the time frame that it takes to set up a campaign like this, but I wanted to make it first so that this can be, you can consider this, if it's not for summer, maybe it's in the fall, but definitely something that you need to add to your marketing mix in some way, shape, or form. I will not even run meta ads or any type of paid advertising for my clients unless they have a system in place to nurture their leads. Again, that's aside from database reactivation, but they kind of go hand in hand. So you're wasting your money if you're spending money on advertising and you don't have a system in place to nurture, convert those leads, and then again, long-term, something to, continue to do so. It is going to drive success for your business now and into the future.
Yeah. Hillary, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you for your time today. We've enjoyed spending time with you. If you're curious about this at all, if you want to learn more about pricing or just have questions about how you could maybe run this yourself, please take a call with us. We'd love to give you all the information we have. Like she said, if you can use that booking link right there and set up a call. If you come before June 15th, our pricing is really fair anyway. Again, it's less than one VA pretty much. But to help you especially get through the summer, if we sign you up before June 15th, we're doing half off the onboarding and then 25% off the monthly fee, making this very affordable. So if you're curious, we'd love to just hop on and just go through a demo call with you and answer any questions you have about your specific database. So please, we'd love to chat with you. Hop on and take a call there. We'd love to chat with you guys.
Yes, and this recording, if you did sign up through the link, it will be sent to you immediately after we conclude this. If you scan, we'll take you right to this link. If you want to scan it now and just save it to your phone. So like I said, this is the first of our summer learning series, and I'm super excited about all of the conversations we're going to have, all of the partners that we work with that we're going to share with you over the summer. The next one that will be next Tuesday is with Persona. So if you are looking to add wellness to your practice, or again, just improve patient outcomes, you'll definitely want to join us for this. And scan here, and I look forward to seeing you all throughout the summer so that we can continue to learn together. And thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Natalie. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Natalie.
Anybody else have questions? Any questions? We'll wait for a few here just in case. Otherwise, let me just go back here. If you want to scan it again really quick, take a screenshot, take a picture. That way you can connect with Josh and Cody. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me directly at any time, Hillary@themedspasociety.com. Thank you guys so much. Take care and have a great week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.